What's up, friends? Today we are going to be finally taking a look at the MadESK8 105 wheels, aka the revival of the famous boosted 105's. Now, I've had these for a while and I've finally gotten around to doing this review. So I've got a couple interesting news sections in today's video, so make sure you use the chapters and watch all the ones you're interested in. And stay tuned to the very end, see what I rate these wheels. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about with these wheels is some tech specs, just to give you a rundown of what the marketing specs are. The first thing, size. These are 105 millimeters in diameter. You know, who would have guessed, right? And they say, according to the website, that they're 65 millimeters in width, but to give you an idea of the exact dimensions, I'm going to go ahead and measure this out with my calipers and show you what the actual contact patch is, which is about 45 millimeters. So if you measure the entire wheel from side to side, let's do this for the camera. If you measure it entirely from side to side, you get a width of 65 millimeters, right about there. And if you measure the actual contact patch, which you can kind of see, you get that about 44, 45-ish millimeters. So the nice thing about these wheels is that they kind of have a nice ability to squish when you go around turns and stuff like that. So the contact patch can vary, especially depending on the actual ground that you're riding on. If it's a little rougher, it'll deflect a little bit and grip a little more with the edges. These nice soft edges also have the benefit of no chunking. There's no risk of hitting something sharp on the edge and a big piece coming off, like there is with ones that have sharp corners instead. Another feature that you can see while we're looking at the tech specs of these is that they have all these holes in the back of it. And you probably are wondering if this affects the actual feel of the wheel, and that is absolutely true. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. These holes are pretty large. Since I have my calipers out, I'll go ahead and measure them for you. They look to be around 10 millimeters if I had to guess. Yep, they are 10 millimeters in diameter, and these help give you that extra cushy feel that boosted 105s are famous for. Now, one final thing that we're going to look at for the tech specs here is the bearing to bearing distance, because that can be very important when you're using these on different kinds of boards. So bearing to bearing distance is 26.5 millimeters approximately, is with, actually it's exactly 25 millimeters, and that is using Zealous bearings. So in here I've got my Zealous bearings, which are basically just a little bit fancier than regular bearings because they have built-in spacers and whatnot. So as for the other details of this wheel, it's supposed to have 72A durometer. We're going to test that in just a minute here. And it's got a Kegel core on the back, and this is a pretty normal Kegel core. It fits the board dynamics pulleys, which the MadESK8 website does actually sell along with these wheels, and I highly recommend you do that because those press fit pulleys make it a really nice experience to use these wheels. So let's go ahead and introduce a brand new section to this video. Alrighty guys, it's time to introduce this new section. So in every single one of my wheel reviews from this point going forwards, we're going to be testing the actual durometer of the wheel, and this section will be super short in the future wheel reviews, but I'm going to explain it a little bit today and have you guys reference it later. So right here in my hand is something that we call a Short A durometer hardness tester, and this tester is able to measure the Short A hardness from 0 to 100 hardness of different kinds of materials, but mostly rubbers and anything under that 100 HA rating. There's also a Short D rating, typically used for harder materials like plastics and metal and other things like that. So I purchased this tool in order to measure the hardness of all of the wheels that come along through this channel. And this will be super interesting to see how soft things are compared to what the manufacturer actually says. Now, there's a very important note to make here, and that is that this number that comes out of this little tester does not fully determine what your experience with a wheel will be, nor does it really mean anything. It's just something to compare to the manufacturer rating and tell you exactly how soft the rubber is or the urethane is of the wheel. Now, there's a lot of things that will affect your ride quality, including the thickness of your material, if there's spongy material inside, like cloud wheels, if there's holes in it, like these, the rebound of the material, and a whole bunch of other things. So, that all being said, this number will still be very interesting to get. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it for the different wheels that I test. Now, to use this, it's pretty easy. You just turn it on and it's zeroed out automatically pretty much. And all you have to do is press it fully down against the material and read the reading off of the material itself. So what I'm going to do in order to make sure these are consistent is I'm going to measure in 3 places across all the wheels that I test, 1 on each edge and 1 in the center, and then we'll have a separate number just taken down for what it is from the side. So on these particular wheels, the left edge measures 70.5 HA, the right edge measures about 70.5 HA, and the center measures about 70 HA. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that the 72A durometer is actually a little bit harder than they really are. Now, I could measure lots of different points on this wheel. I get anywhere from 69.5, 66, 67, 67, 69, 70.5. And the truth of the matter is that these holes in the back definitely have an effect on that, as well as the consistency of the wheel itself. But it's safe to say that these will be somewhere between 69 and 70.5. So I'm going to put a chart up here on screen of all the ratings of the different wheels that I've done so far. And oh, right, I said I was going to measure the sidewall. Those measure at about 71, 70, 71. Yeah, so pretty easy. Let me just show you here so you can get an idea of what it looks like. Grab this, you can do it. There we go. So we got the little probe here. You can press it down on it, and this particular spot is about 68.5. So there you go. This is a brand new section that will be in every video, and here's the chart to reference. Just fun facts, and let's move on to the next section. To me, one of the most important things about a wheel is how efficient it is and how much battery is going to drain every time I ride it. So first thing, efficiency. These boosted 105/MadESK8 105 wheels are one of the most efficient things that I've tested on my board to date, coming in at only 20.8 watt-hours per mile on my standardized efficiency test route. They score almost at the highest point. There's a couple that are a little bit more efficient, but overall very respective. And the more impressive thing for them was the averages over the different rides that I did. I did quite a few different rides with these. This one, 24.9 watt-hours per mile. We got 28.3 watt-hours per mile. We got 33.5. That's a much more intense route, going uphill a lot. 26.2. 27.7. 33.0. Again, that's going uphill. And Yeah, in general, this is a pattern that you're going to see with these wheels, averaging anywhere between 19 to 30 watt-hours per mile. And of course, this efficiency number will always depend on your riding style, the hills, how heavy you are, blah, 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 blah. But for me, since I'm the one doing all this testing, it's comparable to the other wheels in the following way. On the screen, I will show my range guesstimator per se, and in here I've got the numbers plugged in. If you remember this one from last time, it might look a little bit different. I really suspected that my torque board's 110 number was a little bit off before, and I went back and retested on the route, and I came out to about 19.1 watt-hours per mile, which seems a lot more realistic compared to the 14 that I had before. So, that being said, this is the range estimation for these wheels, and I estimate that you're going to have approximately 17% more efficient time than the Onsra wheels and 22% more efficient time than a small pneumatic wheel. And then compared to the RF airless, which are much less comfortable, and the torque boards 110, you have 10 and 9% increases, or it's 10 and 9% less efficient than those wheels. But in my opinion, the trade-off that you get for the increased comfort over both the torque boards 110s and the Urethane RF airless wheels, it's totally worth it. So, all that being said, these wheels are very efficient, and I would definitely expect your board to go further than pneumatics, and it'll most likely perform better than cloud wheels, as well as some other options on the market, including most of the rubber wheels, since all those rubber wheels often come up with some pretty hefty efficiency numbers. Now, before we go into the RBEM score, which will take up the rest of the video, I'm just going to quickly talk about how great these wheels are. Now, I've ridden quite a few urethane wheels, including torque boards 110s, smaller urethane like crappy hard Chinese urethane. I've ridden orangutan wheels, I've ridden a bunch of rubber wheels, and overall these are absolutely my favorite wheel at the 105 millimeter diameter that is not rubber. They have a lot of grip, they are very comfortable, and they're very efficient, so there's not really a lot more that you can ask for from a wheel. And if you want a quick answer in this video, just buy these. The only downside is that there is a slight humming and a slight vibration that you can feel. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. So, next up, we've got the RBEM score. So, for wheels, what are our categories? Let's refresh our memory real quick. They are impact absorption, rollability, rolling resistance, grip efficiency, build quality, durability, and then finally, we've got the composite score. After that, I'll have a short conclusion, and we will talk during that about my one problem that I have with these wheels. The first section of the score is impact absorption, and for that, these wheels do quite well. With their unique hollow pore technology as described by the website, the voids in the back of the wheel offer a lot more impact absorption than competing urethane wheels. A lot of people will say that large urethane, such as the torque boards 110, especially in 72A, will have a lot of bounce to it, and with these wheels you don't really have that problem. These holes slash voids on the back of the wheel really take up that impact absorption, and cracks and bumps feel a lot more comfortable than competing urethane wheels. For that excellent performance, they get a 4.7 out of 5. Now, rollability is my interesting custom rating where I talk about how easy it is for you to roll over things using these wheels. Now, these have a good bit going for them with their impact absorption helping you out and their size coming in at 105 millimeters. So I decided to give them a 4 out of 5. Of course, higher scores are always going to go to the larger size wheels or pneumatic tires, where you can just pretty much roll over anything that you choose when compared to a smaller size wheel. Moving on to rolling resistance, this topic is quite interesting because it does depend on a lot of factors, and especially for these wheels, I have heard some people have lower efficiency with these wheels, and I think part of that could be due to the voids on the back of them deflecting more with larger weights and varying terrain and temperatures. So for me, these wheels are extremely low rolling resistance, and I give them a 5 out of 5. They're pretty much as good as the Torqueboard 110s and other competing urethane. The only thing that you're really going to have better than these is a harder wheel, and that's definitely not something comfortable that you want to ride on every day. Let's talk for a second about grip. Grip is very important on a skateboard, especially when it comes to carving. Now, I'm not the biggest carver in the world, and if you guys watched my, the efficiency test video for these wheels, which I'll link up in the iCard, you will know that I mostly ride straight. But I did do some carving on these wheels, just to test it out, and they do have very good grip. However, I do find them to have less grip than rubber wheels in general. I think that's going to be pretty consistent overall. So with that being said, I give these a 4 out of 5 in the grip scale. Next up, we've got efficiency, and this is kind of an interesting topic for these wheels because recently I've heard some reports that people are getting very high numbers with these, and for me, that was not the case. These were one of my most efficient wheels I've ever tested, coming in at 20.8 watt-hours per mile on my standardized route. Now, as I briefly mentioned, I think weight can definitely have a factor on how efficient these wheels are, as with higher weight, the wheel will deflect more, causing both more rolling resistance and less efficiency. Now, I don't have anything to prove this yet, just kind of a theory that I got going in my head, but chances are that these are going to be more efficient than a lot of different wheels, especially rubber ones and ones that are a lot heavier. That all being said, I give these wheels a 8.9 out of 10 on the efficiency scale, and I think I do eventually want to change this efficiency number in the scoring to be based off of the actual watt-hours per mile. I'm still going to think about that for a little bit, and when I do, you guys will know. Let's talk a little bit about the build quality of these wheels. The build quality of these wheels, in my opinion, has been absolutely excellent. There's almost no faults I can find with them, and they just look really, really nice. The outside cores on these wheels are a thinner piece of plastic that is built into the actual core of the wheel, and it gives a really nice clean look when you look at them from the outside. Obviously this is subjective, but it looks really clean. All the surfaces are very smooth. There's not a single bubble on my set of wheels on any of the outward facing surfaces. There's a tiny bubble on the inside of this wheel, but it's urethane, so that does happen. The holes on the rear side are all very equally spaced, very equally sized. All the edges look really nice. The core is super well made, seems strong, fits Kegel pins perfectly, and honestly, I really don't have any complaints about these wheels. I did notice something when I was riding on the rear wheels. I developed some interesting lines along the rotation direction of the wheel. Not really sure what that was about, but I don't really think that has any bearing on the build quality of these wheels. So in lieu of that, I'm going to be giving these wheels a build quality rating of 9 out of 10, which is quite high. And honestly, you'll be hard pressed to find a nicer urethane wheel than these. Alright, so durability on these wheels is interesting. Urethane wheels are known to last for thousands and thousands of miles, and I am very certain that these will do exactly the same thing. Of course, you do have voids in the back which lessen the amount of urethane you've got on your wheel, but honestly they wear down so slowly that I can't even imagine wearing these out before switching to a different set of wheels or something like that. I'm sure there's people out there that put way more miles on these than me. I think I put about 120 miles on these before doing this review. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember if I measured these before doing this or not, which is kind of stupid, but right now they measure in at about 101.6, 101.5, 0.7-ish millimeters. And if I recall, I think I measured these when I got them and they were around the same. So if anyone has brand new ones and you want to measure them for me, can you put the number down in the comments? Because I think that does matter. But anyway, I haven't really noticed a significant amount of wear and tear on these. They look pretty much the same as when I got them, even the actual surface itself and the the actual contact patch is very similar. So overall, I think these wheels are going to be super, super durable. And while that is true, I don't know if they're perfect, so I'm going to give them a 9 out of 10. Now, bringing together all of these scores that we've talked about so far, we get a total of 44.6 out of 50. Now, this is a very good score, and it edges out the Torque Boards 110, which came in second place. And I'm pretty happy with that because honestly, I would take these over the Torque Boards 110 any day, especially with the Torque Boards 110 72A having issues with delamination. And while one person had these wheels delaminated, I think it might have been a manufacturing defect. So we're still waiting to hear on that. But overall, my confidence in these wheels is extremely high, and I really, really like them. Now that you're at the end of the video, hopefully you stayed the whole time, but if not, here is the one thing that I don't really like about these wheels, and that some other people dislike a lot more than me. I consider this a very, very minor factor when considering riding these wheels or not, but there is a hum slash whooshing sound slash slight vibration when you ride these wheels. Again, due to these voids in the back, the wheel deflects as you ride, and sound travels in and out of these holes as well as past them while you're riding. And this can sound very cool, especially when you're riding on rougher roads. You can hear a little bit of a whoosh, and on smoother roads you can hear a little bit of a whoosh and a little bit of a like humming sound. I think it sounds cool, but some people have told me that they really hate the whooshing sound or the vibration sound, and they really hate that some of that vibration is translated into your feet. Now, on this humming deck, personally, I think it is the perfect combination of flexible and stiff, and I would say that the vibration is noticeable but not annoying. On short decks, where you're a lot closer to the road and maybe there's less vibration absorption, you can notice the vibration a bit more from what I've heard, and some people really don't like that. So I gotta point it out. I don't really think there's anything to be done about it. It's just part of the design. So if you clicked this part of the video to hear what it was, that's what it is. Honestly, for me, it wouldn't detract me from buying the wheels, but to each your own, and your mileage may vary. I feel like I've already said a lot of concluding statements already, but if you can't tell, I love these wheels. They're my favorite urethane wheel, and if I'm not riding pneumatics on my board, I will probably have these on there. The only downfalls are that they have less grip than rubber, just by a little bit, and they have a little bit of that vibration going on. Other than that, these are definitely going to be staying on my board as my street wheel of choice. Now, just to tease something coming up, the hollow wheels by Momentum Boards are on the very near horizon, so I'm very excited to compare those to these. And I'm thinking of doing a very specific comparison video to compare these directly. Now, that'll be in the future, so if you have any ideas for what you want to see in that video, be sure to put them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, keep on riding, and peace out.